Is this thing on? You're beautiful. Simp, simp, simp. What did I do? You complimented a woman's looks and you took away her agency. And we're going to get you. Oh my God, what are you going to do to me? We're going to start up a bunch of bot social media accounts and call you names. Oh no, not that. Please, not that. What are you going to call me? We're going to call you Baldy. Wait, you're going to insult me because I voluntarily shave my head every single day. Yeah, that'll teach you, won't it? Before we get started on today's DCU Daily, I've got one more pearl of wisdom for you. I can prove to you right here, right now, not only that representation doesn't work, that representation and equality are two different things. I support equality, not representation. But not only can I prove to you right here, right now, it doesn't work, that it doesn't matter at all. Let me ask a question to Latino girls in America and wherever else you're living. Would you want Rachel Zegler to represent your community? Would you want people to think every Latino gal, woman, is like Rachel Zegler? No, I didn't think so. The prosecution rests. I have nothing else, nothing further. Your Honor. Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. I'm Mick, your host with the most to start your girlfriends and your wives. You can follow me on X, Twitter at Movies TV Mad, and on Instagram and on Threads at Movies TV Mad X, on TikTok Mad Mickey's World, and on Snapchat BMouth60. Mick, your host with the most. A very warm welcome to Wednesday's edition of the DCU Daily. It is Wednesday today, isn't it? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Welcome to this latest edition of the DCU Daily. There may not be much DCU news and updates out there. Apparently there's going to be a 5-minute preview for Superman in Malaysia, is it? Or one of those countries. Interesting. I think the full new trailer might be part of that preview and some footage. Very, very exciting for the people who get to see that. But an interesting little article slipped onto social media yesterday because Ben Affleck, our former brilliant, beautiful batfleck for most of us, did an interview for GQ magazine, and Variety decided to reveal some of it or promote the interview in a very negative way by leaving out the positive things that Ben Affleck said about playing Batman and Bruce Wayne, and in the headlines just talking about the things he didn't really enjoy. So this is how Variety framed it in their headlines, because Ben had a lot to say, but to be honest, in terms of what he said about the DCEU and the Snyderverse and his experience of it, he said it all before. This is not breaking news, but people like the Truth 31 decided to use it in a way to gaslight Snyderverse stans. The Truth 31 is a YouTuber who lied to you. He calls himself the Truth 31 and lied that Ben Affleck was giving Zack Snyder shade. This simply isn't true. So anyway, in these Variety headlines, the way they headlined it and showed to get you to click onto their link, it wasn't their interview, by the way. It was an interview in GQ magazine, as I've already said. So he basically said this, that basically in the interview, right, he says he loved working with Zack Snyder. He loved doing Batman versus Superman. He really enjoyed working with Viola Davis on his post-credit scene for the Suicide Squad. He loved being in The Flash, which I believe is something he shouldn't have done. He was still recovering from his alcoholism. His weight wasn't good. It was really, he was quite thin. He didn't look that healthy when he did that. I think that the Batman costume in that film was disgusting. He looked like a clown. I don't think he should have done it, but he claims he enjoyed that experience, which is great. I think he enjoyed working with Ezra Miller. I think he likes Ezra Miller. He's allowed to like Ezra Miller, by the way, because he knows him more than we do at the end of the day. But anyway, he said he didn't enjoy the fact that he was still fighting his demons while, playing Batman. So he would come in, do his job. He wouldn't create any problems, but he wasn't as present in that role at that time as he should have been. He also didn't like the fact that Zack Snyder and Warner Brothers had, disagreements about the direction into making those movies. He didn't say it was, he said it wasn't a great formula. I agree with Ben. He said, it's not a great formula for success. I mean, everyone can disagree, but the way these guys were going loggerheads, Zach in the studio and Jeff Johns, it was ridiculous. And no wonder what happened eventually happened. So basically what Variety did, they were putting out the fact that basically Ben said he wouldn't want to work in the comic book movie genre again. So basically this says that Ben Affleck would not want to play Batman again. So basically fans of James Gunn and the DCU, the bestest director ever, were gaslighting Snyderverse fans going, haha, you want to restore the Snyderverse, but basically Ben Affleck doesn't want to come back. So here's the thing, everyone needs to calm the F down. Variety are very well connected with WB and have shared their propaganda many times. They also share the propaganda of Disney. They're trying to salvage Disney's reputation about this Snow White movie. They're trying to gaslight Rachel Zegler and put all the blame on her. It's not all her fault, by the way, but ultimately, if they actually researched the girl, they would have known she was a loose cannon and that she's always been a loose cannon. I mean, she's argued with me and nobody before. Nobody talks to me on social media, but Rachel Zegler did to argue with me. That tells you everything you need to know. Anyway, Variety have always, basically full WB's propaganda. So they are shaken. Right now, WB and DC Studios and James Gunn are shaken by the trending that the Restore the Snyderverse hashtag is doing. And this is why, when this interview came about, they released it in this way. Now, I think the GQ article was coming out anyway. And look, they are scared. And this is why Variety were putting it out in a negative way. So, he said that he enjoyed making BVS, that he didn't enjoy making, playing, not Superman, playing Batman while he was fighting his demons, while he was suffering from alcoholism. It was a horrible time, and he didn't enjoy it, but not because he was playing Batman, but because, or what he was working with Zack Snyder, because he was fighting his demons, alcoholism. So obviously, understandably, that wouldn't have been an enjoyable experience for him. But he did admit he did enjoy the fact that Zack and the studio were at loggerheads, and he clearly didn't enjoy working with Joss Whedon in the Justice League reshoots. In fact, I heard a rumour that he actually, and many of us heard this rumour, that he actually told all his cast and crew to walk out when Joss was losing his temper and shouting and screaming and insulting people. And nobody would leave, He was ready to leave the set. So good on Ben for that. He was the general kind of thing. He was literally being Batman in real life as well. So there's a mixture of things here. He said he wouldn't want to be involved in the comic book genre again because of his bad experiences, because of fighting his demons, because of what happened between Zack and the studio, yada, yada, yada. But he said all of this before, and then he reprised his role as Batfleck in Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut. He did that. The scenes are there. You can watch them. He said he wasn't coming back. He came back for Zack. He came back to play Batman in The Flash. He shot some scenes for Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, scenes that we will never see. What a tragedy that is. Right, he's come back on plenty of occasions, right? If we restore the Snyderverse and Zack approaches Ben to come back as Batfleck, I believe he would do it. Because here's the thing, and Russell T Davies said this, by the way, happy birthday to New Who, 20 years old today. Whatever we think of New Who, by the way, at the moment, what Russell did, bringing it back, having these talented fans writing Doctor Who, Russell's first era was brilliant. And I celebrate it. Happy birthday, Doctor Who, and everyone who made New Who possible. I still love it. I'm still watching the new ones, even though I have many, many issues creatively with what they're doing. Anyway, Russell T Davies once said that he always lies to the press about stuff. And this is what happened. So, yes, Ben Affleck said he will never, I don't think he necessarily directly said he wouldn't want to play Batman again, but he said he wouldn't want to be in that genre again. But I think if Zack Snyder approached him, he would say yes. I think under those circumstances, he would say yes. And he did admit he did enjoy developing the Batman movie. He enjoyed that process as well. But what he mainly didn't enjoy was the studio interference. And I believe, under certain circumstances without that studio interference, freedom of integrity and creativity, I think Ben could be persuaded to say yes. But he would never say no to Zack Snyder. He said that publicly on a multitude of repeated occasions. Who he did say no to was to James Gunn when James Gunn asked him to write and direct the Batman Brave and the Bold movie. We already know that. That's not official, but Gunn attempted to get him to do it. Now, ironically, Gunn a year or two ago was showing off that Ben could work in the DCU. Next day, Ben did an interview, this was about a year ago actually, saying he would never work in a generic comic book movie where he didn't have any control of it. So Ben's said a lot of things, but for the gaslighters, the liars like the Truth 31, don't worry, Truth 31, we'll be talking again. I'll be tagging you on July the 11th of this year when this film is released. When this Superman film is released, we'll talk again. Because here's the thing, Truth 31, the Truth 31. As you all know, I've been told about the test screenings of Superman. I actually know what happens in the current cuts of this movie. I know more about this movie that the Truth 31 has been shilling than the Truth 31 does. I know more about the DCU plans than the Truth 31 does. But when you call yourself the Truth 31 and you lie on your header that basically Ben Affleck has issues and is giving Zack Snyder shade, we know that's not true. We know that Zack and Ben still have a great relationship and are really good, close friends. Nobody dislikes Zack Snyder who's worked with Zack Snyder. We already know it. What I would say to my fellow Snyderverse stans, why do you always take the bait? It's pretty obvious that WB right now are pretty shaken by the trends of Restore the Snyderverse. Think about that for a minute. You know, the last film, Zack Snyder's Justice League, was released in 2021. Man of Steel was released in 2013. Batman vs Superman, the Dawn of Justice, that had its anniversary yesterday, right? And I didn't have time to rewatch it yesterday. I must watch Zack's beautiful commentary on that film. But you know, 2016 BVS, 2016, March of 26, 2016. That's, what are we, 9 years ago. 9 years ago. And they're still scared of the Snyderverse. They're still scared of something trending. I mean, James Gunn's scared of a Smallville cartoon. He's scared of Superman and Lois. So obviously he's going to be scared of the Snyderverse. So it makes you wonder, doesn't it, James? If you're so intimidated by the Snyderverse, if you lot are going to be getting Variety to stir things like this up, that Ben Affleck has no intention of coming back. He would for Zack, we know that. End of story. Whatever he said in that interview. Ben has already said one thing and done another. Coming back for The Flash, coming back for the Snyder Cut, coming back for Aquaman and Lost Kingdom. So we know, even though he says, I'll never do it, he's done it. So people could say, yes, but he said it before and he came back. So, shh. He would come back to restore the Snyderverse. Gal would come back to restore the Snyderverse. Henry would come back. Henry's desperate to play Superman again. He would return for Zack Snyder. So would Ezra. So would all of them. This is not even a discussion. And what I'd say to James Gunn, if you have no idea, if you have no intention of restoring the Snyderverse, why did you take a selfie with Zack Snyder? Why did you do that? Why? Because you'll do anything to try and get the Snyder stands on side. That's why you did it, and that's why this Variety thing happened. To try and create the impression that even if the Snyderverse is restored, Ben Affleck wouldn't return. Ben Affleck would absolutely return. WB are shaken and stirred like a James Bond 007 martini. That's the truth of this situation. And us, the fans, don't believe any of it. We know Ben would come back. We know they would all come back. We know Junkie XL would compose the music. There's nothing to worry about. The only thing you need to do, and I need to do, is support Restore the Snyderverse, the hashtag, right? Now, as you know, I'm a general DC fan. I'm not a here for Zack person. I will be going on July the 11th, even though I've been told so much about this Superman film, to watch this film and judge it on its merits, then do an honest, genuine review on the film's merits in front of you here, sitting here in the same room I've been sitting in since 2018, when I first launched this channel, where I've given you, direct and honest opinions. This platform will never change.